Okay. Okay, we're good. We're live. We're here. Yes, you can hear my voice. Excellent. How you doing in chat? Thelonious Turp and Stein is here. Thanks everybody. Guys, check out Stein Fox, Greyhorn Pagan's channel. I am doing a weekly appearance for 1 hour live every weekend. Seeming Sunday, or wait, no, today's Saturday, isn't it? Sometime on the weekend, I will be offering free readings with my tarot and my runes. The short version, right? You know, so you'll get like a 10-minute, maybe 20 minutes if you're a redhead. But anyway, let's see, stream current. I always get that stream current bitrate warning. Stein, I'm gonna ask you some help about my bitrate issue. I've been having the bitrate issue for years, and I don't know what to change my bitrate to. But anyway, that's not important right now. So, tonight you got to hear In Surreal. My buddy Zev Moshan, who I've known in the New York metal scene for many years, is the singer and I don't know how much lead guitar he's doing. I can't quite remember. I was too busy banging my head to pay attention to how he was playing. Because I hadn't seen him and his band play in a hot minute, and I actually just need to get more familiar with In Surreal, because Zev's a good dude. So this is my buddy Zev's band from In Surreal. You need to check them out. And I'm going to be doing a few more locals, in the mix, just because I haven't been doing locals, and I feel like it now. So you're going to expect to hear some Winter Nights. You're going to expect to hear some Solemn Visions and a few others. And Winter Nights and Solemn Visions have been, I've been a fan of theirs for a long time. We've been associated because of my time in the Bronx scene, playing in Brain Dead for the most part. That's another band. I'll obviously have to play some Brain Dead because I was in the band. But those guys are going to be opening for Tyr when Tyr comes to Brooklyn in February. So I got to get tickets to that. Anyway. So tonight we're going to go through the short film. This is only 30 minutes, 40 minutes tops of Welcome to Rajasthan, and if I remember this one properly from the first time I listened to it, it was going over the Bock Saga's influence in effectively, I think, the East. Talking about the history of the Rajas, which is kind of the history of India. I think that's what it was. Let's listen up, because I remember there's a lot of good info as this thing went on. It takes about 3 minutes for it to get through introductions, but it's good filming.
It's easy to live the lie. We live in so many lies on this planet today. There's so much stuff that's not true. And the people, they continue to think like it's true. How do we get rid of the untrue in our mind? How do we get rid of the bullshit? How do we keep what is real and what's true? Maybe we have one generation of children one day that we don't teach the lies to. They get the truth from the beginning, and then they don't have to have a mind full of untrue. Today we think we're so clever, we have so much truth in our brain, and according to the sound system, much of what we think today is not true. And these leaders, these politicians, these money wallows, all these people, their minds are full of untrue. And they keep teaching this to the next generation and the next generation. One theory after another theory after another theory. This theory is good for 50 years, and then, we got a new theory. That one's no good, and then a new theory comes along. The sun's what's creating our life, our soul, everything we see. If the sun doesn't shine, Pushkar doesn't exist. This lake isn't here. There's nobody here. The cows, the dogs. There's nothing here if there's no sun. This is not one theory. This is really one understanding. Our soul comes from the solar. Many, many people on the planet would argue that point. Oh, I come from the star, I come from the God up in the space, I come from this, I come from that. Yeah, think about it. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure if the sun doesn't shine, there's no light, there's no life, there's no soul, there's no consciousness. Every word that I speak, everything that we see, this camera, everything is created from sunlight. This is...
I just wanted to pause right here. It's wild looking at all these cows just hanging out in the streets, right? And they're not super fat, right? Like, these cows are pretty thin. There's, and this is India. I don't know if it's all over India literally. I don't know if there's like a white district of India where there are no cows, but they serve beef, and there's a little beef slaughterhouse that they can have there because they respect our customs, right? Because it's crazy. It's like it's a very much like everything sticks to the wall in India. That's why that's why the Bock Saga was being held, right? Because it's just like, if all he has to do is fucking be protected to run his mouth about setting the story straight, he'd be hung from the neck until dead. Like they crucify him, right? They do all this crazy shit to us. It's like goat gods. We worship a goat god, you devil. No, there's only one Lamb of God, and he's not literally a lamb, even though when we do the ritual, we're literally drinking his blood. Right? So they're very whatever on what's literal and what's not literal, as long as it maintains their hallucination to their radicalization. Hey, what's up? Christy Marie Winter. Good to see you. I gave you a wrench and dear effing dirt. Are you one of my friends that keeps changing her name? Are you Hella? Hella always changes her name to something I don't recognize for 3 seconds. But anyway,
really a no-brainer. This is a little child can understand that the sun doesn't shine. There's nothing. And you have billions of people on this planet would love to argue with the point that...
I mean, look how lean that cow is. That is a lean cow, but it's not unhealthy. It's like it's kind of like a big dog, kind of.
Your life doesn't come from the sun. It comes from blah, 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 blah. If everybody could come out of their house in the morning and realize...
I was right, it is Freya. Christy Marie would say, I must be picking up the pattern because I definitely not recalling that from any memory at the moment because
realize that the sun is the source of our soul. It might be a different planet.
Because you got to hold down the name line.
It could be one truth that we all could look at and say, yes, this is a truth. The sun is what creates our life. And if they look in the saga, they may find more truth than they can really realize. It's one logic. I think we go somewhere up in this nice place and we talk about this story.
So yeah, Eeyore or whoever, that's why they went to India. It's just like, you not just talk about it. Here's a whole fucking country that'll be like, here, we'll not only like not bug you about it, you know, we'll let you like have a life about it. We'll look at you and be like, dude, you just sitting there cross-legged, wagging your chin. That's a respectable position in society. And here's YouTube. Hi. Fair use. I just want to make sure I say that. It's written in the
Not
description.
expect how much you give is the problem. We give, and this is what you should appreciate, what we give.
We come all this way over here to this place called Rajasthan, this most western state of India, or what we call India today, before called Hindustan. And the Hindustan was much bigger than it is today. It was Afghanistan, Pakistan, Rajasthan, Hindustan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Burma, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, all the way to Bali. This was all of the Hindustan before. Today it's much smaller than it is before. In this place where we sit here in this lovely little village called Pushkar, we sit next to one lake that has a very big history, this lake. In the Bock Saga, it has information of a history that we know little bit about today, long before really recorded history. A long time ago we made history, it was an oral. Today we write it down. And today we give the history backwards. We start from now, who we were 50 years ago, who we were 200 years ago, 500 years ago we were like this, 1,000 kind of like this, and by the time we get to 3,000-4,000 years ago, we really are just guessing about what happened before. Whereas in the Bock Saga, we don't start from now and go backwards. We start from the beginning of the history and we come to now. When you read a book, you don't start with the end of the book and read to the beginning. You read from the beginning to the end. So, like this, the saga, it starts from the beginning of our history. And the men, we kept the history, and the women, they made the future. So this is really part of his story. Today, much of our history is written by people who didn't really tell the truth the way it should have been told. Heroes, our books are full of people who wrote history to make themselves look good and to always give the terrible for the people who were there before. There was one king line here in the Hindustan 3,800 years ago. And this king, he was called Narkasur. Narkasur. And Narkasur was a very good king. And he lived in one palace in the middle of this lake in the Pushkar. And this Narkasur, he had sons, and his sons were called Maharajas. Ma, the land, Ha means to have, and Raja is like a king line. Ra is the king, Mahara, yeah. And these sons were called Maharajas. And in this system from before, the sons of the Maharajas were called Rajas.
So, observation. So he doesn't break down the ya or ja part at the end there. So I'm going to assume that it's understood in the structural language of why that pronunciation is there, that suffix is at the end. So I don't want to take away. In fact, we're going to let this run. I'm going to do a little etymology while this runs. And what's up? Voina Moina Mythology is here. I think I saw you in a chat before. Good to see you.
In the saga called Rabis, but in this Hindu system called Raja. And the Raja, his sons were called Kar. And cars like Pushkar, cars like Gokarna, cars like Karnataka. Many people here in India, their surname, their family name are called Kar. Balababa Kar, Tak Kar, Sudin Kar, Amun Kar, Hardik Kar. So Kar was the middle class of people, like in the saga, their Kar is the middle. And the sons of the Kar people were called many names, but they're the low caste people, called Gati. And Gati are what we call the untouchables here in India. So the fathers of the Gati, of the untouchable, was called Kar. The fathers of the Kar were called Rajas. The fathers of the Rajas were called Maharaja. And the father of the Maharajas was called Narkasur. And he was the king line from long time.
So Narkasur breaks from etymology, which is interesting. It's like you've got all this Raja, Maharaja, like it's all following that. And then there's Narkasur, and there's no generative in the word, right? So that's a very important thing to know, right? Is that this is a place where the Narkasur, the name doesn't have the exact same kind of correlation to this line of succession under him. Okay.
3,800 years ago, when there came one man and one woman from Finland, that these article people, these blue eyes, this white skin, yellow hair.
1 second. Okay, here we go. So I'm at Etym Online for Raja. So it says here, king or prince in India, ruling either independently or as a feudatory in the 1550s. From Hindi, from Sanskrit, Rajan, king. Related to Raj, which is kingdom or kingship, and Rajati, which is he rules, and cognate with Latin rex. Okay. Old Irish rig, or king. Reg in the straight, well, like Rig Vedas would be like the king's book, right? So with derivatives meaning to direct in a straight line, thus to lead to rule related, Rajput. Okay, this is making sense now. Okay, so the Rajati, so I think that's it's Ra, but then Ra is Raj, and that all makes sense because there's the king and then there's the kingdom or the kingship, was what happens when you put the J at the end of it, the J. So you've got the Ra is the king, the J is what he is king, is the thing he is king of. This is Ra, this is Ra's Raj. He is the Raja. And then the is, he is the one who is pertaining to the Raj. I think that sounds logical to me. I think I got that right. So anyway, it goes, meaning to direct in a straight line lest to lead to rule, related to Rajput, member of the ruling caste in northern India. From Sanskrit, Rajaputra, prince, literally king's son. From Putra, son, boy. See Puril. Okay.
Come from Finland originally. The Finnish and the Russians are the original white people on the planet. It's quite obvious to go to Russia and to Finland and you see the highest concentration of white people. anywhere on the ball today. The white people do not come from India. They do not come from Southern Europe. They come from the north. And there's a story about what happened because a long time ago we were all brown. We all had brown eyes. And in the saga, if one watches the story, it explains where these white people, where they come from. And 3,800 years ago, one of these more than 12 sons in this Bock family, his name was Krishna. And he came here to Hindustan with one woman called Radha, Krishna and Radha. And they bring the cow, because the cow also comes from Northern Europe. He does not come from this. And this cow that they bring is called one Brahma cow. It has one hump on the back. You can see them all over the Hindustan here. The Brahma cow. And this Krishna, he comes to this lake here 3,800 years ago. And he kills the Narkasur. He kills the king of Hindustan, who was a very, very good king. And this Krishna, he starts some new system. Before we had one system where we were breeding up. The Gati was breeding up to the car was breeding up to the Raja was breeding up to the Maharaja, and the Maharaja was going up to the Narkasur. But this white guy, he come here and he flip out here in the Hindustan, in the middle of these brown people. This article guy who bring this cow, he makes one class called Brahman class. Brahma, which are the people who do the blah blah priest thing here in India today. And when he kills this Narkasur, when he kills this king, he writes in one book, because this Krishna, he bring one first writing system to Hindustan. Before people spoke Hindi or Hindu. But he brings one language called Sanskrit. And San means true, S-A-N, San. And script means writing. In the Swedish language, you have something called rune script, which is this carving in stone, this writing that they make, this rune script. In English, they make script. So the word scriv or script, it's a Western word. It doesn't come from India or it doesn't come from Hindustan at all. And this Krishna, he brings his first written language, and he writes down the first written language in this part of the planet. These Asur had written language from the beginning. They had 29 sounds. Each sound has a sound, a mark, and a meaning. So the Sanskrit is not the most ancient language at all. It's one language brought here 3,800 years ago. He also writes one book called the Mahabharata. And this Mahabharata is one war story about him and his good friend Arjuna, how they made war against evil in Hindustan, and they killed this evil. And in the book and in this story, they say that they killed the Narkasur. The Hindustan was pure, it was a glorious place, and all the evil was gone, according to their book. But anybody who's visited India today or Hindustan today, it's not so hard to see that it's full of corruption. It's full of evil. So this Krishna and his friend Arjuna, they didn't wipe out the evil or the corruption here in Hindustan. It still exists. He's one hero story. They even have temples for this Krishna. But this Krishna in our story, he was not such a good guy. He was really one ego trip. And he started one system here called marriage. Before, we didn't have one marriage system. And in this marriage system, we had this caste system, where now you had to marry one woman and live with this one woman, and she had to live with one man for the rest of their life. And they couldn't marry up, they couldn't breed up. So this whole breeding system, it all fell apart with this Krishna. The first marriage system, where one man belongs to one woman and one woman belongs to one man until they die. This was not in the old system. We had a completely different system, which I explain in the saga. So this king, Narkasur, living in one palace here in this beautiful lake 3,800 years ago. And there were these people here that they were called Rajas. And Raja, he lived in Rajasthan. And Rajasthan, stan means center. So this is the center. Like Afghanistan, Pakistan, Hindustan. So we're sitting in the stan of the Raja. We're sitting in the center of the Rajas here in Rajasthan. And these Raja people, they didn't know what to do, because now this Krishna, he come over here. One white guy came to this land of brown people with brown eyes, vegetarian. And he flip out and he make this new written language called Sanskrit. He makes one marriage system where now we can't breed up in this system. And he writes one story about himself and all the glorious thing, how he wiped out all the evil all over this part of the planet. And these Raja people, they don't know what to do, because now they can't stay here anymore, because the Rajas had been the children makers from before. They were the big, strong. And so they didn't know what to do, so they left from Rajasthan, these Rajas. And they went to a place called Egypt. They were car people in the Bond class, in the Bond family, so they went on one caravan. In English, caravan. But in the root language, caravan. The Van people, the middle class car, and Ra, he's the king, like the Raja. So the caravan, these people, they're taken over to Egypt. And when they get to Egypt, they asked this Pharaoh, who's also from the lineage of the Bock family from years before. They asked this Pharaoh, can we live in your Egypt? And this Pharaoh says, yes, yes. This Krishna guy, he's flipping out over there in the Hindustan. And we don't know what to do. We can't stay there. So this Pharaoh says, yes, you can stay in the Egypt. But you have to stay over there. You cannot mix with my race of people. Because in the old days, we did not mix races of people. Today, we mix races. But in the nature, the tuna fish goes with the tuna. The squirrel goes with the squirrel. We don't mix things. So a long time ago, the human being, we didn't mix races. So these Raja people, they stay there in this Egypt for many years. And one day they find it not so nice to stay in the Egypt. So they ask for help from hell. And hell, as I explained in these other videos, hell is where Helsinki is today. And hell was the true Holy Land. It was the land at the top of the E, where the hole is. And these Raja people sitting in Egypt, they want to go to the true Holy Land. And down comes one woman from this Bock family. Not one of these 7 daughters, but one of the more than 7 daughters in this Bock family. And this woman, she is called Moor Say. Moor meaning mother, Say meaning to say. And this Moor Say, she comes to Egypt and she takes these Raja people, she takes them out, and she promises to take them to the Holy Land.
You know, especially if the name is true, that would potentially mean that Jim Morris' son is one of her bloodline. And also, hi Vinamon and Mythology, if I didn't say hi before. Pretty sure I did. Good to see you back.
And this Moor
And Vicky, I forgot to say hi to you. Hi, Vic.
Say was Moses. Moses was a woman. Moses was not one man. And she takes him out.
And that is confirmed by Dr. Amon Hillman, who has shown us the Greek translation of the Bible where Moses meant muses.
Out from this Egypt. As they say in the book, she wanders through the desert for 40 years. I mean, it's a 2-week walk from Tel Aviv to Alexandria. It's this far on the map. You can walk it in 2 weeks. 40 years she wanders with these people. It took 40 years to take and put this new book. She brings one new book. The first book on the planet. The first black letter on white paper. And this first book is called Torah book. And this Torah book is 3,300 300 years ago. And this Torah book, it's this Hebrew story about how we all became from one God who made the sun and who made all everything in one day, in 7 days. It's the first of 3 religions. It's the oldest religion on the planet. Before, we lived according to mythology. In mythology, you have gods and goddess. But in this new religion, they take the goddess and they throw her away, and they only make this one male god who sits up there in the space, who's pissed off at everybody all the time about this and that. And some of these people didn't go for this book. Some of these Raja people, they didn't go for this book. They understood about the sun and the moon. They couldn't understand that there could be somebody sitting up there on the star who made everything. And they didn't accept the book. And they left. And these ones who left, these Raja people who left, they became what we call the gypsies today. They had lived in Egypt, and now they become the gypsies. And they were the ones who didn't believe the Torah book. And these people had brought the sitar from India, from Rajasthan. They brought the sitar. And there they turned the sitar into the guitar. So the guitar is made by the gypsies a little over 3,000 years ago.
And I believe it was gypsies that were in, because I just saw Nosferatu, and and because it puts you up there in like Hungary, because we're talking about Romania and things like that, this whole area for these guys, it shows you them and how they deal with living in the shadow of Nosferatu, because they basically live within his hunting grounds, and thus they do what they can to keep him at bay, trying to hunt for his thralls and everything like that. Hey, what's up, Timony? Time for her story. Well, your story's the future. It's the miss story. Because the future is the miss story. You're supposed to learn his story to make miss story. What do you think isn't the Torah book? Just a Harlow's monkey equipment? What? What do I think isn't the... What do you think? Isn't the Torah book just a Harlow's monkey experiment? Explain the Harlow's monkey experiment to me. I probably know it, but I'm not a nerd.
And there's more to say. She didn't take these people to the Holy Land. She took them to Palestine, what we call Palestine today. She created a new Holy Land. And today they call Israel the Holy Land. But there's no hole on the top of the E. It's actually 1,990 miles from their make-believe Holy Land to the real Holy Land, which is one island in front of Helsinki, Finland. This is the true Holy Land. So these Jewish people, they originate here in Rajasthan. I think that you can take a DNA test and you can see that the gypsies of Western Europe, the gypsies here called the Cobra gypsies, and the Jewish people, they're all the same people. And they're all from here. They're not from Israel. This is the true origin of the Israeli people here. It's quite understood, even if you look, that the gypsy does come from India originally. But not so many people know that the gypsies and the Jews are the same people. And when you come to India, you see many, many Israeli people here. They feel home here. They feel like they're maybe in their roots. Maybe they've made the circle. They've come full circle. They've gone from here to Egypt to Israel, and they come back to Hindustan. It wouldn't be so hard to find out.
So they're right. This corresponds with Jordan Maxwell affirming the breakdown, and everybody else is seeing it in other sources now too, right? That Abraham was a Brahman. Now what do we got here? Okay, Harry Harlow's monkey studies shows that infant monkeys preferred a soft cloth surrogate mother over a wire surrogate mother that provided food. This suggests that the attachment is not solely based on the satisfaction of physiological needs, but also on the need for comfort and contact comfort. Google. Oh, I see. Um, I suppose. Well, I think that perhaps it creates the conditions if you're going to study that on a mass scale. Like you could make the choice to observe that and see that happening in humans. So now I think that what the Bock Saga is saying here with this idea of this Judaism because of the Torah book and all that being the first. I think it was the first of a people of the book organized system, right? I think that they had a lot of the same kind of infrastructure that was being done in a more open spirit kind of way because they didn't use the book. Because becoming a people of the book means that they use that that knowledge of the book as your litmus test, as your trust exercise, right? Where somebody comes in and tests you on how you know particular scriptures. And if you answer questions correctly, you maintain trust. And all it does is maintain trust. To earn more trust, you have to be more committed, right? That's going level 2, right? All right, let's get back to it.
You know, in the life, we get much information, and much of this information is no logic. And I think that logic is what keeps me in the saga, because it has one logic, it has one understanding. And this small story I tell today is just one small story in a very, very big story called Bock Saga. But I feel like this information I give you right now is it's what I would call profound. It's absolutely amazing what I'm going to get ready to say.
All right, before he says that amazing stuff, I wanted to respond to Vinemoinen here. This is a good conversation. Consider that book is artificial, and it only replaced something which was lacking. Right, yes. And so it's the question of understanding the origin of this lacking, right? In the existential observation that we know from the Bock Saga, the lacking is coming from the physical separation from true north, right? Because we don't have Helsinki like openly in charge, right? And so that's kind of the meta thing that was lacking, that created the conditions at that time in which that was necessary for something, right? And what these Torah book people did, I mean, like the Torah book is associated with Babylonian mythology, ancient Sumerian mythology, which gets into the spell, the dark sorcery aspects of everything that we're talking about. This is the case in manners of things such as, I highly recommend you go see Nosferatu. Mainly lacking for the tropical all-father Narkasul, who was killed. Yeah. There's, yes. Well, yes. That's what's being said. That's basically what has been said, right? That's good. You put that together very succinctly from how it was kind of step by step explained in the storytelling process. Because the Narcosaur was more in line with all of those things, and that was on a physiological level part of what kept us, quote, closer to God, right? And there's something else we got to do about that now, because look, man, there's a lot of things that I am super comfortable with that we have changed, right? And I don't feel like getting into it right now because I could ramble on and on and on, and I don't want to go too far over an hour.
In this story, many people on this planet, we talk about the heart. The heart, the heart, the heart. People give seminars about the heart. Children are told stories about the heart. There's poems about the heart. And what do they say about the heart? They say that our love comes from our heart. They say that our heart is the most tender place of our body. They say that our heart is in the center. The heart means the middle. And they say that this heart has one form of one heart. Like this Cupid with this bow and arrow and this beautiful heart from thousands of years ago, this Cupid. So this form of a heart, the sensitivity, my sensitive heart, I can give my heart to you. My love comes from my heart. And my heart is my center. And in this story, we say that nobody really knows where their heart really is, because this thing up here is not where the love comes from. This we call pumpa, or pump. It pumps the blood in our body, but the love doesn't come from this. You can take this out and you can put one artificial heart, one pumpa in there, and you can still love somebody. So in the saga it says this is not the heart. If I say that I love someone, it registers in my brain. This is where the love comes from. I see my mother, I register here, there's my mother. I have love for my mother. I see my girlfriend, there I have love. So the heart, it begins here in the brain. This is where the love is made. It's not made in the pump. And this brain we call yarna in the root language. In the heart we call yarta. Yarna, yarta. And when I think I see I love, one feeling goes down my chakra system or my spinal cord. And at the bottom of this spinal cord is my, you could say, my penis. For the woman, it's her clitorius, but for the man, it's his penis. And this penis, it has one head and one neck, just like another head here and another neck. A man, we have two heads with two necks. And in this head down here, in this head that hangs in four in front of this head, it's the forehead. And if you look to the top of the penis, it looks like one apple with the stem taken out. This forbidden fruit of knowledge, this apple. It's the top of the man's penis. If you look to the top, the very end, the top of it, is the third eye of Shiva. It's in the head that hangs in four of this head. And it's an eye there that opens and closes. And from this comes the sperma, or the sperm, that makes the children. It's your dragon, it's your snake. In the pagan times, this was when you see a snake or a dragon, this is every man has their dragon or their snake. It spits the poison, it spits the fire. So the very end of the penis is the third eye of Shiva. It's in his forehead. It's the head that hangs in four. And when a man, when he has really good feelings and his love is full strong, when it stands to the top in its rise, if you look to the bottom of the penis head, is one perfectly formed heart. This pump doesn't look anything like a heart, but the bottom of the penis is a fully developed, fully heart. And this is my most sensitive place of the body. This is where my love comes from. You can give your heart to somebody, but you take it home at night. You can't take and give this heart to somebody. You die if you give them this pump in the chest over here. And this heart rises up to the very center of the body. It's the most sensitive place of my body. It's not this here. So the true heart, in one logic, not in one blah, 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 but in one true logic, the heart is the bottom of the man's penis. Or the woman, she also has these three. She has the apple on the top of her clitoris. The end of her clitoris is one hole where her climax comes out, which is her dragon. And if she has underneath her clitoris, she also has one heart. How can we all be so wrong about this heart, when the heart is really down here? And maybe one day the human race, we can come with the logic that this Mr. Eeyore Bock, he left for us. Because the Hindus don't call this the heart. The Christians don't call this the heart. Nobody on this planet really knows where their heart, where their most sensitive place of their body is, where their love comes from. It looks like this Valentine candy box. And maybe this information could change the human being. When we speak about our heart, I don't put my hand over my chest over here anymore. If someone wants to put their hand on their heart, I straight away put my hand on my heart, as I understand it to be. This is the pump, but the heart is the most sensitive place of the body. And it looks like one heart. And there's 13 different hearts on the planet. There's 13 different races of heart. Every race, 10 tropical races, 3 white races. Each race has a different form, a different art of the heart, because each heart is a different form. So the Hindu man, his art is different than the Middle Eastern heart. The Middle Eastern heart, his heart is different than the Red Indian. So we have these different forms of heart, if we can understand that the heart is down here, and this is just the pump. You can take this out and put a plastic pump in and still love people. It has nothing to do with love. There was something else that this Morse she did. She started one system called circumcision, which may have existed a little bit on the planet before, but she made it mandatory to cut this skin away from the boy.
So right there, that's a woman's idea. A woman's idea. right? Yeah, yeah. And also one more thing. A woman, a woman also has a heart. Like a woman's ass when she bends over also looks like a heart, right? So that is your heart to heart.
To leave his heart exposed. And when his heart's exposed, it becomes less sensitive as it rubs on the pants, as it rubs on his trousers. So this circumcision we must stop today. This is really one, I call it child mutilation. It exposes the heart, the man's heart. Before, this foreskin came over the top of this heart and kept it a very tender heart. We could have very tender heart, but when they take this foreskin away, our heart becomes less sensitive. And it's very funny that most of the problems on this planet today, the wars, are created by these people that have circumcision. The Americans, the Muslims, and the Jewish people, they all cut the skin away from their children, from their small boys. And it's these three groups of people that are causing most of the wars and most of the suffering on the planet. Maybe if we stop the circumcision and cutting the skin away from the heart of these small boys, maybe feelings could start to change. Because our feelings are coming from our ling, from our feeling, our lingam down here. I could give a long seminar about this circumcision, but we'll just let it go with this. Let's stop.
Okay, Vainamoinen, that is let me tell you something. You're not going to go longer, right? You've got like a guy. It's up here. How long they go? It's all up here. And if they're that excited, it'll be over way too quick. Right? It ain't got nothing to do with the unfortunate numbness that comes with all of that.
Stop it. Let's stop this child mutilation today. Let's no longer cut the skin away from this small boy. His hat that covers his forehead, the head that hangs in four of this head. And this is a hard story. Just one small story from the Bock Saga that could change the whole
No. Literally what he just said was the original idea. That's the original idea with circumcision. Because now also you make a man more dependent on clothing. They have to have a particular kind of undergarment, and they're not so physically comfortable, like with the environment, like the temperature and things like that, because they're not as guarded from elements, right? Your heart is exposed, so now you've got to take care. Like think about that. That might be some of the subtext of the Garden of Eden too. There might be some weird twist in the meaning of that story where it's about that, which is thus why the interpretation of Adam and Eve wearing the fig leaves.
Understanding of the human being.
Yeah, I know. I'm also, but I was referring to something Jim said in the point I was making about what you said, because that's what I got to work with as I am entertaining your ideas while going through this story. 7 minutes and 40 seconds.
so much about Krishna except he started this language and the marriage system, and he destroyed the old system of tour, and he started the Brahmin priest class, the ones who go around and you have to pay them money and they give me some money. Bakshish. They don't give. Before you were offering, that was your offering. Women were offering, men were offering. These yonis down here, this Shiva Lingam. Before there were men standing in a queue for, and they're all coming and they're all masturbating on the top of this lingam. And this lingam, this sperma was running down, and now it comes into this yoni. It's a lingam, and the sperma is going into this, and it's pouring out in the bottom into one cup. And now one man who's been offered to, 1,000 men offered to this one man. 1,000 men could masturbate on this lingam. They'd go down and go into this yoni, come into one cup, and this guy, he could drink from 1,000 men. And then he could offer to the next, to the next. It was one offering system before. Today they pour milk and they give you a banana. So they've lost all this understanding. The women also had a whole system where they could offer, 1,000 women could offer to one woman.
So, I think that we're talking about not doing it literally because that's really weird, right? Like I'm not interested in drinking everybody's sperm for superpowers. I'm good. I am good being of this level of intelligence. Anyway, but that lingam also represents the axis mundi.
And another to another, and this was how we made children before, because this woman, the mother, she was getting more than 11,000 women to offer to her energy for her baby to come, and the men are getting more than 11,000 men offering to them. It took 22,224 people to make one child. So we had a whole different system of offering. Today there's one man and one woman with very little soul power, very little energy inside, making our children today. Just think, 22,000 people, more than 22,000 people offering for one child. What kind of children were we making in these days? But we have no concept of this anymore. It's been lost, except for the saga. The saga brings it back. This is the tour system. This was the old Narcosur system. This was the system that was here before the Krishna.
I definitely don't want to go back to the system where I go do the mass bathing, laundry, and wash my cow event. I'm not down with mixing those things in the same water.
There's one instrument called harp, and there's one instrument called kontale. And kontale is one Finnish string instrument. And this is what the sitar came from, and from the sitar they make the guitar. So the guitar is made by the gypsies, and the gypsies, they come from Rajasthan. And still today they have these gypsies here called Cobra gypsies that say that they went to Egypt. They don't know why or when they went, but they know they went and they came back. And they still live here today, and they still call themselves Cobra gypsies. So the gypsy, it's quite understood, even if you look, that the gypsy does come from India originally. But not so many people know that the Gypsies and the Jews are the same people. And when you come to India, you see many, many Israeli people here. And they feel home here. They feel like they're maybe in their roots. Maybe they've made the circle. They've come full circle. They've gone from here to Egypt to Israel, and they come back to Hindustan. It wouldn't be so hard to find out. Also, we have a different heart. There's 13 different hearts, and I'll explain this heart in the next video. But the heart is actually the bottom of the man's penis. And also the woman, she has her heart in the bottom of her clitoris. And the Hindu has a different form of heart than these people in the Middle East. You could take one Palestinian man and look at the bottom of his penis. It has a different form than a guy from here. And I think if you look at the form of the Rajasthani man and the form of the Jewish man, not these white Jews from Russia, but the traditional, the real Jewish people, you'll see that they have the same heart. There should be another way than DNA to test and see if these Israeli people are not truly...
Right there, he's even making a distinction between that scenario of the Caucasoid Khazarian, right?
From Rajasthan. Maybe one day somebody has the feeling to do this.
I can't believe you did that, Tim Timoney. You're a ridiculous person. Good job. All right. All right. So, that's going to be the show for tonight. I need to brew over. I'm going to see if I could pull maybe one more Bock Saga, maybe. Not 100% sure. Or at least I want to grab another one that's got some, something on it that's gone longer. I gotta see. Gotta see what kind of material. I may be going offbeat on Jim and the other guys, and I might want to go on, perhaps some professional who is, written a book on it or something like that. Right? We'll see which direction I go, but I'm not going to linger on the Bock Saga for too long. All right. So, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you checked out my buddy Roz's website. I'm going to go head over to Rumble and hang out with the Phoenix Enigma and show some love to Corey and Alicia, who are live streaming right now. All right, I'll catch you guys later.